Hi, I'm Helen Leathers, and with me today is not my co-host on the podcast, but the lovely Dr. Rosie Khan, who has come along to join me for a little bit of an interview that we regularly interview our coaching doctors, and it's so lovely to hear what they're up to and catch up with them on their coaching journey. So good morning, Rosie.
Morning, Helen. It's lovely to be here.
It's so exciting to see you again. We were just discussing before we hit record that it's been a year since you finished your course with us. So
I cannot believe it. I think it's almost, yeah, just over a year. I remember I actually missed the last one because the last session because I took the kids to Lapland and it was around the 9th of December.
oh, what a lovely memory, though, and experience with the kids.
Oh, it was just UK Lapland, but it was still great. It was fun.
Okay, not not
Not
Lapland then.
continental.
I see. Okay, I'm going to do a quick introduction so our listeners know a little bit more about you, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. So, Dr. Rosie Khan is a GP, a lifestyle, perimenopause, and wellness expert, and she helps high achieving women overcome symptoms such as anxiety, brain fog, and weight gain. She uses a unique combination of lifestyle medicine, clinical hypnosis, and coaching, and supports women in taking charge of their physical and emotional health to thrive during their mid years. That sounds amazing.
Oh, thank you. I like to think it. Yeah, it's been a real
Yes.
journey. I'm absolutely loving it, and I can't believe it all started with my coaching diploma with you guys a year ago.
Yes, I was going to ask you whether you did your clinical hypnosis first. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, actually, I had. I got my medical diploma in clinical hypnosis in 2014, so quite some time ago. I've always been super interested in looking at medical ailments from different angles, not just a traditional medical model. And so that's what led me into hypnosis all those years ago.
I'd like to find out what's been happening with you for the last few months. So I'd love to know, following the course, you'd obviously already embarked on a bit of a journey in terms of not just being a GP. So how have you gone into sort of the business world, if you like, since our course?
Yeah, so I mean, the plan was in 2014 to set up my own hypnosis practice then, but as for you, like life gets in the way, right? So I put all of that to one side, and I was just really working in general practice, but getting much more disillusioned with it. And after the birth of my second child, I was like, I don't think I can go back to this full time. There's no way. If I was doing 4 days a week in general practice, that would mean that I wasn't seeing my kids in the evening for four evenings a week. And that wasn't something that I was willing to sort of sacrifice for me personally. So I thought about what else I could do and the things that I'd loved about general practice that were now lacking. And that was really that. I mean, you must hear this all the time from GPs that you've interviewed, but it's that real in-person connection. Like 15 years ago, I could spend a bit more time with my patients, get to know them. Um, and then over time, that's eroded. And 15 years ago, if I needed to have a conversation, I needed to bring them back in the next week to carry on that conversation. It was okay. They could get an appointment. But now it's not the case. So I was feeling more and more disillusioned. I was seeing a lot of women, especially, come to see me about stress, although they would not say they were stressed. They would come in asking for some time off work or wanting to talk about their deteriorating relationships, or they weren't sleeping, or they were irritable and they wanted to talk about that. And, in the 10 minutes that I always had, I was like, it just felt like I could speak to them for a few minutes and then it was quick. Let's try and find a solution. It's either counseling, and yes, there is a very long wait list, or perhaps try some antidepressants. And I never felt like I was getting to the root of what the problem was. So I decided that that was a route that I wanted to go. And I thought that coaching would be a wonderful tool to learn, practice to learn in order to help these women get to the root cause of their stresses and help them to figure out a way to work through it. So that's what led me to coaching. And then that's what I started doing after I finished the diploma. I started coaching women in stress management.
Lovely. And
Mm.
it sounds like it was a real door opener for you to learn the skill of coaching.
Yeah, I mean, I'd come across coaching before. I'd had coaching in the NHS, loved it, and I had done a bit of motivational interviewing and done some introductory courses in coaching, but nothing as deep as obviously the diploma that I did with you and Tom. And yeah, I mean, I learnt so much, and it did open up so many doors, and it really made me think. Although as a GP, I have been communicating with people for a long time. What I have been doing is a lot of mentorship. Right, this is what you need to do. This is how you're going to face, and it was really quite difficult at first to ask those open-ended questions and to sit in the silence and let them do their own thinking and come up with the answer. It's a real skill to learn, and that has been the mainstay of what I do. Basically, listening, reflecting back, and asking them how they're going to manage what they're going.
Mm,
And it sounds so simple, but it's so transformative. Just the act of being deeply listened to for an hour a week without being interrupted, free to say whatever you want. It's incredibly therapeutic, and obviously, it's not something we can do in general practice.
mm. Yes, and my client base is all women, and I have a phrase that I use in a very non-medical sense, which is being heard is healing. And I think that that is absolutely the case for anyone. But when you have busy women who are juggling all of the things that they're juggling, I think actually it's a big thing even just to ask for help, isn't it? And to reach
Mhm.
out and say, I'm going to have an hour a week for myself. There are probably many women who think, oh gosh, I couldn't even do that, you know,
Yeah,
in the
exactly. I
beginning.
think underneath it all, I think a lot of us just don't feel that we're deserving of it. The love and attention and care that we give to our children, our spouses, our patients, our, extended family, it's not something that we easily give to ourselves. And so I think there's a lot of work to be done there with some women.
Yes, yes, I would agree. So you've mentioned obviously your work. What other ways are you using coaching now?
Well, so aside from in my business, I actually now pivoted a little bit to work with perimenopausal women because what I was finding in my stress management days, soul stress management days, I was wanting to advise them about lifestyle interventions they could make to manage their stress. And so I thought that what I'd do is I'll get qualified in lifestyle medicine, but specifically for perimenopausal women. And now that's allowed me to do a little bit of mentorship where I can do a little bit of education and teaching and then coaching on top of that. So that's what I'm doing now in a business. But I think in other ways that I use it, I still use it in general practice a little bit, although obviously not to its full capacity. But once you learn coaching, it's impossible to not use it. So I do run slightly late now, and people are generally very amenable to it. When they're like, "Oh, what should I do, doc?" It's like, "Oh, what do you think you should do?" And they're like, "Oh, So I do use it in general practice. I also work for a private company, and I have the gift of a little bit more time with each patient, so that does help. And how else? I use it a lot on myself. Honestly, I think the greatest gift we can give ourselves is to learn how to self-coach and self-soothe. So, a previous version of me would have perhaps had a problem or a situation, and I might have been very single-minded in how to solve it. And I might have catastrophized and got really entwined with the situation. And now version 2.0 kind of looks at the problem, gets curious about it, and is like, wow, this is a problem. Let's find 5 different ways that I could potentially handle this. And, it just feels a lot easier. And I'm able to dissociate myself from the situation and look at it from, I have perspective over it really. And coaching has taught me to do that.
Oh, that's lovely. And I think that that perspective taking is such a big part of coaching, isn't it? Because as humans, we do get into the narrative. We do tell ourselves a story, and then that story becomes our truth. And having that opportunity to really look from different angles and different perspectives with different tools that we cover in the coaching, I think that's really powerful. Not just our own situations either, I think for other people's.
I think one of the most insightful things that I've learned during my coaching journey is that everything we tell ourselves is just a story at the end of the day. It's just a story.
Mm,
You can choose what story you want to believe, or and want to take in, or what story you want to push to one side and not necessarily make it part of your life. And that was a real eye opener, because up until that point, I thought that all the thoughts that I was having were just truth. And that's absolutely not the case. Thoughts are just thoughts, and you can choose which ones you want to believe. So that felt very empowering.
Mm. Yes, certainly. That's something that I've come to learn. I often say that it's a coaching course, but is it really? Is it a personal development course?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. There's so much personal development that I learned during those 6 months.
Yeah. So from the coaching and from having practiced it since we've completed, what would you say is your favorite coaching tool?
I mean, it changes a lot. I think one tool that I've used quite recently, which has been really impactful, is the strengths in coaching, asking people to identify what their strengths are. Um, and I think I've had a few medic clients, and I think medics are really rubbish at identifying their strengths. We just don't take them in. We're very drawn towards that negativity bias, of things that we've done not quite right in the past, or things didn't go as planned. We tend to remember those and take those in. And very rarely do we remember all the good things that we've done and the strengths and the difficult situations we've faced and come through. So when I ask that question, and when we explore what strengths are, you can see kind of little light bulb moments of people remembering actually times that they were resilient and came through a situation. And then when they are able to identify their strengths, then asking, well, how could you use some of those strengths in this current situation? Um, I think it's really beautiful. Again, it comes back to also raising self-esteem, self-worth, boosting
Mm.
confidence. Yeah, which is a lot of the work I do, actually, is boosting people's confidence.
I think, yeah, I love the strengths work that it crosses over, doesn't it, from the solution focused approach, which really focuses on building on people's strengths, and into positive psychology and all the research that comes from positive psychology around using strengths in different ways, or perhaps using some things less that you where
Hmm.
you don't have your strengths. And I think that's one of the challenges, is people always go, I'm really rubbish at that, so I'm going to try doing it more. And I think that's always baffled me. Like,
Mm,
if you're really rubbish at something, why would you want to do more of it if you
mm,
don't enjoy it, and if
mm.
it doesn't fill you with excitement and energy? I know there are always things we have to do that we don't like, but why volunteer for that? That's my opinion. When perhaps you could
Yeah.
get someone else to help you out on that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It reminds me of when they say with children, if your child's not very good, if they're excellent at English and not very good at maths, okay, get them up to a level of maths that they need, but then get them an English tutor, right? To really nurture that strength and work with
Mm,
them.
yeah, interesting. So that's your favorite tool.
Mhm.
What we ask all our coaching doctors this. What would be your current favorite question as a coach?
Oh, I mean, it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. It's got to be the classic, the magic wand question.
Wonderful. A
I
question
know.
and a tool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's that question whereby asking them what they want, because so many people don't know what they want, right? I know it is a tool, but it's so helpful, because when people say, I just want to feel a bit happier or a bit less, stressed, actually you're giving them permission to dream as big as they want. You're saying there's no financial constraints, there's no time constraints, dream big. And people find it really difficult to do that. And I think it's really hard if you don't have a vision, a real tangible vision of what you want for your life, or what you want for your outcome to be after the end of, say, 12 sessions of working with me. Then you it's very difficult to take action that leads you towards that vision. You just end up saying yes to everything, and it's scattergun approach. But for me, I found that when I had a vision in mind, I was able to say yes to the things that were going to get me closer to that goal, that desired outcome, and no to the things that perhaps weren't, or were going to take me away from my vision, or perhaps weren't a learning opportunity. So I think it's really powerful to start with the end in mind and go from there.
Mm. And when you're aligned with that vision, that like you say, that helps with boundaries as well, doesn't it? So they do sit really nicely together. I love that. I love the magic wand question. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome.
So we've heard a lot about you and your work and the studies that you've done, having learned the hypnosis as well as the coaching, transitioned into a slightly different working into space with perimenopausal women. What does Rosie do when she's not working?
I really dread this question. I really dread the question about hobbies because I don't. I'm at that stage of life where I've got two young kids. I have, obviously, I'm still doing general practice and running my business, so I don't feel I have much free time. At the moment, I'm kind of happy with that. A lot of my spare time is spent with the children. That's one of the reasons why I've cut back on general practice and gone into running my own business. And they're so young still, so a lot of my time is spent doing that, and then the rest of my time is literally spent practicing what I preach, which is I'm trying right now to look after myself really deeply, which means I'm getting out into nature, I'm walking, I'm exercising, I'm spending time at the supermarket, choosing my food ingredients, and making food, nourishing food. So that's all there is right now in my life. I know that time will come where I can get back to doing some traveling and doing other things that I love. But yeah, at the moment, that's where you'll find me in the supermarket, in a field, or with my kids.
That sounds delightful. And what a lovely hobby to have, really. I don't know how many people can say that their number one hobby, either other than their children, is themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just given me goosebumps, actually. I know you almost apologized for it, but it feels really important and special to be able to say, I prioritize myself.
Yeah.
And it might not be from doing an activity, but if the activity is being you and nurturing and resourcing yourself so that you can have that time for your kids and your work, I think that's wonderful. Well done.
Thank you. I mean, I love my kids and I love my work, right? So I have to look after me in order to do those things. So yeah, if I don't do that, then those two things will fall by the wayside. So yeah, absolutely. And that's what I teach women as well, put yourself
Yeah,
first. You deserve it.
lovely. And you absolutely do. So just finally, um, I wonder what you would say to any doctors looking at our coaching course.
Course, I would say do it. I think if you're a medic, you're a GP or any other healthcare professional, and you love people and you want to connect with people on a deeper level, then do the coaching course. And even if you're not working in general practice or if you're in any other role where you speak with people, do the coaching course because it will allow you to connect with people on a deeper level and aid transformation and change for them. So I'm a big believer that, dentists should do it, hairdressers should do it, your nail salon, they should offer it. Um, and yeah, and I think it will just help in general conversation as well. If you want to have deeper conversations with other people in your life, your friends, your family, although I know they say don't coach your friends and family, but I found that I've been able to have deeper conversations with my husband. I've kind of coached him covertly. So yeah, 100% do it. And obviously do it with Bob
Excellent.
and Ellen because they're just the best teachers and cameras.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, we say don't coach friends and family, but you can't help but use slightly different language because your coaching skills become your life skills,
Mhm,
don't they? So
mhm.
asking questions in a more open way and that listening that we said at the start was just so powerful. I mean, how much could we change the world if we listened more to our friends and family? And that's coaching. So I
Yeah.
think that's okay. Your husband's now going to know that you've covertly coached him, isn't he, if he listens to this?
I just throw in a few open-ended questions there and yeah. But it generally does help in every aspect of your life. Even if you don't want to use it in business, I would say just go for it. It will change your GP consultations. It will just change the level of conversation.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And when we record this, we're coming up to Christmas. So I hope you have some lovely Christmas plans to spend some time with your lovely children and
Yeah,
family.
yes, we do. Thank you.
And it's been an absolute joy to catch up with you and to find out what you've been up to. So thank you so much for your time.
I've loved it, Helen. I've loved having a chat with you. It's been like old times. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, that's great. I love the conversations that I have with our coaching doctors. It's great to hear how you're going out into the world and, you know, it feels like the ripple effects going out from the course to you, to the people that you meet. And it's just lovely to be part of that.
Yeah, and I know
So,
so many
sorry.
doctors, sorry, and I know so many doctors doing amazing things. We're quite a tight-knit community, you know, we all from my coaching group, we've stayed in contact, and it's really lovely to have that social connection and that support. So again, that's another reason I would do the diploma. I'll stop studying it now. I'll stop, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you so much, Rosie, for joining me this morning. And next time on the podcast, Tom will be back and we will be discussing a topic that we quite frequently discuss, actually, just in life, which is intuition and its place in the coaching room. So, one of our challenges coming up there on the podcast. So, thank you so much once again. And I'll see you at our annual conference, Rosie. And we'll be back very soon. Bye for now.